Ready? Morning, everybody. Welcome to the September 26th, 2024 version of the Allegheny County Board of Assessment Appeals Review. Can we please have roll call? Open.
Mr. Barkestein?
Here.
Mr. Snipe?
Here.
Mr. Todd?
Here.
She should be on, but she's on the
Just not when she-
muted.
So she's here. Yes.
Mr. Murray is absent.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Yep.
Thank you. All right, may we then go on to approval of the favor? Aye. Opposed? So moved. Moving on to public comment period. Do we have anybody with us?
In here to see what we have on here. We have Rachel O'Neill on here, but I don't see any others. And she's not on.
Sorry,
Rachel O'Neill.
Rachel O'Neill.
She is in the public comments, but she's not on mine.
Okay.
We're right here.
Ms. O'Neill, do you want to?
No, I'm just here to observe. Thank you.
All we have. Moving on, solicitors report. Ms. Shrub.
Thank you. I have a couple of items today. First item is parcel 482, G as in George 1. This property was under appeal and was settled at viewers for $3,200,000 for the 2022 through 2024 tax years. An appeal was mistakenly filed against the same property in 2024. The owner made the mistake and accidentally filed. BPAAR, a lock somehow got removed. BPAAR issued a disposition. We didn't have jurisdiction to issue the disposition, and all parties consent to returning the value of the BOV STIP, which was 3.2 million.
Stipulation.
Yes. Sorry, I said STIP.
I know. Slang.
My recommendation is to rescind the 2024 disposition, roll over all the values pursuant to the Board of Viewers stipulation, and mark as no board action as necessary. And that's for parcel 482, G as in George 1.
I'll accept the recommendation for 342K 241.
Is that
Oh, I'm sorry.
248, G as in George 1.
Where is
Is
that?
it already there?
It's not-
One. I thought it was you. Oh, there it is. It's under number 1, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Item number 1, rescind. Let's start over.
Now we got it.
Rescinding correct rollover values from the Board of Viewers stipulation. Mark as no board action. The parcel ID is parcel 482 G17.
Second.
First and second, thank you.
Discussion.
All in favor?
Discussion.
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
You said that it was removed. You know why?
I do not know how the appeal lock got removed, so I don't know if the parties get stipulated, and I would have to look, I didn't do a whole lot of research on this because both parties consented. There's two ways, either one, the appeal lock is removed because somebody removes it manually.
Who's in charge of it?
I think BPAAR has access and OPA has access to appeal locks, is that correct?
Never had, but I probably do. I never had to be sworn
You've never had to do that.
do an appeal law or anything like that.
The other thing that could have happened is if the BOV stipulation came at the beginning of January, the appeal lock would have been removed when that parcel got worked through the system. And then they could have, and again, don't forget, the owner did file a mistaken appeal. So then the
Right.
appeal got filed and then no one would have looked back to see that there was a BOV.
It's just a process.
Yeah, I think this was a mistake by the owner. And the owner's the one.
Ask the owner if he feels if it's in.
But I think it would be just.
Okay.
Again, we have a first.
There's a motion in a second.
Okay.
In favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
moving on, we had legislative acts appeals heard on September 16th and September 20th. I'll go through each of them separately. 342 K's and Kangaroo 241 was an owner appeal. The county denied the exemption for tax years 21 and 22. On October 11th, 2022, the exemption application was filed. The property is exempt for 2023 and forward. So the use is not questioned. The county denied based on timeliness, and our recommendation is to deny it based on timeliness.
Okay.
For tax years 21 and 22.
Any questions? Have a motion?
Motion that we accept the recommendation as read into the record.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved.
Parcel 22 H's in Hotel 92 was a municipal City of Pittsburgh challenge for 2023 and forward. The county shows no change in use. Propel, who is the charter school everybody's probably pretty familiar with, is the tenant. There was some evidence passed around, but there wasn't significant evidence to show that Propel is not entitled to a tax exemption. And therefore, our recommendation was to recommend denial of the appeal with the property retaining its tax exemption.
Any questions?
Motion to recommend, to accept the recommendation for denial of the appeal.
Second?
Second.
Second.
I said it, but I'm gonna wait there. Don't have you.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? He's saying,
That was the tenant. If the school, if the charter school is a tenant and the sole tenant, they are entitled to tax.
Period.
Essentially, open my home up.
Yeah, go ahead.
You come before me and
What else? I'll use this hearing.
Okay, so next, 23 H's in Hotel 245. This was similarly a municipal City of Pittsburgh challenge for 2023 and forward. This is a parcel property owned by West Penn Hospital, which is functioning as an employee parking lot with no public access. It's for employees only. Mike's laughing because the sole issue here was that there's trees on the property and the trees should be taxed.
the leaves too.
The leaves. There were trees and leaves and they should be taxed. We would recommend deny the appeal and the property retains the tax exemption.
Correct. So moved.
Let's have a question.
We have second and then.
Second.
Thank you.
all in favor?
No.
No.
Or do you want to discuss?
Question?
Yeah, let's have a question. So I have some additional knowledge. On these parking lots, is it exempt because it's owned by the West Penn Hospital? My second part of the question is, if they're charging employees for parking, will it still be exempt?
So as long as they're charging below market rate.
This issue comes up often.
And it's also because they're relieving the government of some of its burden by providing parking. And the law doesn't even have to be just for employees, even if it's given to their employees at market rate and then given to C1 next time. UPMC, students get a rate, employees get a rate, the public gets a rate, and it's all still below market rate. So they get.
Good, that's the
That's the way the law.
Okay, so recommendations made, no change.
Motion is to pay.
Okay. It's no change to correct.
We're denying the appeal.
Then
Deny the appeal.
okay,
Yeah, this is not a value. Exemption.
No change to status.
Yeah.
favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved.
So this one, it says one thing on your report, but the recommendation is going to be a little different. So this is parcel 23S 141466. This is the municipal City of Pittsburgh challenge for 2023 and forward. It is currently 100% exempt. It is a 501c3. It is a 19th century museum. It has limited hours due to COVID. And it is the only 19th century museum in the United States. It provides artifacts to the Allegheny County Airport. I can tell you that both Mr. Sully and I went back and forth on it. And I think the final determination was due to the lack of accessibility to the public and the fact that it didn't really remove any burden to the government. It didn't meet the HUP test. So the recommendation is to deny the tax exemption. Is that a good summary?
Correct. So
Second,
Second.
favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. 41, question, where is this building?
I don't pay attention to where they are.
Side,
I just,
for sure.
yeah, I just kind of look at I just put a lot of blocks. I try not to pay attention to the properties. So
We have a file on hearing everything.
I think he said it was.
Why not look it up? I just-
Ohio Street.
Somebody.
I think he said it was Ohio Street.
Say, Robert just said, East Ohio. First one.
It's the first one.
Interesting.
yeah, I just go by lot block. I don't even. 27 N is in Nancy 95 tiebreaker 2. This was an owner appeal for 2023 and forward. The county pulled the exemption because it is a fee parking lot. And the evidence at the time of hearing established below market rates for students and public. $7 per day for students and $15 a day for public respectively, and leased spots for employees at below market rate. Because of that, we would recommend that we grant the exemption for 2023 and forward.
So moved.
That I answered your question.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? So moved.
50 M is in Michael 121 was a municipality challenge for 2023 and forward. Parcel is currently partially exempt. Partial exemption was granted because there were living spaces that had active leases. The owner provided testimony at the time of hearing that the living spaces are free to artists because they live in residence there. So they're like visiting artists. So the recommendation was to deny the appeal and the property retains its partial tax exemption.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Moved.
Parcel 75 L is in Larry 73 was a municipality challenge for 2023 and forward. The property is currently exempt. The city challenged based on the tax exemption of the Owners Corporation. It's tax exempt. I mean, it's a tax exempt entity, it's HUP test. So our recommendation was there was no evidence presented to change status. So this municipality did not meet its burden of proof, and we would recommend to deny.
Okay, so moved.
Second.
Favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
That exhausts legislative acts. And that was 2 days worth of hearings.
The property you asked about, 531. That gets right in the heart of where all the doors are. Oh, 3 blocks of small stores.
Our third issue is an item that was brought to my attention by Mr. Fabian. There are 2 parcels, 404 F is in Frank 104 in 396 F is in Frank 220. Both of these parcels were base year values that got the CLR applied to them. They were both proceeded on a base year theory. I confirmed that with the hearing officer notes. So my recommendation would be to remove the CLR calculation to the base year values and set the assessed values as follows. For parcel 404 F is in Frank 104, $185,700. And for parcel 396 F is in Frank $300,000.
And this is just to remove the CL.
Just removing the CLR.
I will move that we remove CLR on those 2 parcels, 404 F 104 and 6 F 220.
Second.
Favor? Any opposed?
I'd like to just add something, Mr. Chairman. I don't mind if all base year arguments come to me. For you, Mr. Chairman, one person, and it's a lot easier if one person says, there it is, rather than us all doing it up to stealth. I don't know how the board feels about that.
We can discuss it then.
Yeah, we can
I
discuss
just
it.
thought I'd put that out. It would probably streamline stuff.
I think what's happening here is, the data entry people are just are clicking the CLR button.
Regardless.
And they're not reading the notes, so that it's base year, and they click the CLR button and process it through, and I think that's how the CLR is getting applied to these ones.
You might not see it when you look at it, because board members in both cases approve what the hearing officer said,
Which was the market value.
was the base year
Base year.
balance year.
It should have said base year, right?
And it did.
They do the drop down base year. That's how you catch it.
Yeah, and they just missed it, so things are just,
It happens after you look at
I see.
yeah, these were just little error codes.
So it's kind of my idea later.
Yeah, I just wanted to, let you know that I think that's what.
How does it get picked up?
it. Gets reviewed.
If there is a review.
How we review sales. Sometimes we find them in sales. When we're reviewing a sale, we look at the data, we look at everything, the history, of it, see if it's a valid sale or non-valid sale. Sometimes it's appeal, because it says appeal lock on the thing, but we're still looking at the screen. And that's how we find it.
And roughly how often does this happen?
I think this is the 7th one that we found for the year. Yeah, so,
These terms.
right,
We'll make
yeah,
mistakes. That's what we're here for.
Yeah, I don't know that we need
Uh,
someone overseeing again, but yeah, we.
And that exhausts my report, except for the fact that I would like an executive session after this meeting to discuss board-related issues.
Okay,
And I as well.
Thank you, folks.
all right, moving on. That's all you have, Ms. Shrimp?
That's all I have.
Thank you.
It's enough.
Yes. Good morning. Appeals Department, Ms. Brown.
Good morning. You should have received for tax years 2020 through 2025, the appeal status reports. Currently, the 2025 appeals are still coming in. We are still about 400 less than we would have been for the 2024 filing with the same number of days, but we do still have still a few days ahead of us. And the school district has only submitted the 532 appeals, and the municipality 92. And that is all I have.
Thank you.
Lori,
Yes,
Brown, I had a question.
yes.
Could you speak to when we will, start scheduling appeals, like around in October, around what week? we'll be looking-
October 30th will be the first day of appeals. I will provide you the calendar after this meeting for what the tentative schedule will look like.
Ms. Brown, you've already sent out notices on the commercial?
No. I'm anticipating possibly starting that on Monday,
Okay.
because again, we need to give them the 30-day window to comply with the board rules.
230 commercial, that's low.
Yeah,
It's also the possibility that another taxi body will counter appeal. But the same property,
It counts, but
it counts. They have to, it's a subject appeal, or to the.
Consolidated appeal is still one appeal, correct?
well, they count on this sheet as two.
In fact, no, but I'm just saying.
We
don't
would
want
hear
to-
that once.
One size fits all for both parties.
And that's always why I've recommended that we don't schedule appeals until the appeal window has closed. That's their process. There's the possibility.
So with that statement, would you rather me wait until after the 1st and start scheduling, which would mean there would be no commercial hearings heard in October?
From a legal perspective, as long as you can schedule it, all parties are gonna get notice. If there's a cross appeal, they would both know about it
That's fine.
at the time of the hearing. As long as everyone gets notice, that's fine from a legal perspective, because they have notice and the opportunity to be heard.
Okay.
Reasonable.
And historically, some of them postponed. That the goal here is hopefully by the end of the year, we get these heard and decided on.
Basically do next year.
September 1 is the deadline.
You have 8 months off.
8 months.
Go on vacation, go to Greece.
I have a question. What day was the makeup for exemption appeals?
The days,
The date? Remember, we rescheduled.
that one for the
September-
20th?
Yes,
Okay, so that is going to be on October 30th.
correct. Okay, just making sure.
Mm-hmm.
On the schedule.
And those are in person and live. For anyone listening.
Thank you. Anything else?
No, that's all.
Thank you. Items from OBA, Ms. Brooks.
Good morning, everyone. I do not have any items to address today.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Items for consideration from the board administrator, Ms. Baldwin.
Yes. We have, the first one, which is, for parcel ID 121K52. I would like to request, for the board to table that because I did invite, Mr. McKenzie. But I don't see that he is one. And it's a little bit more, it does require his input as to.
Motion to table?
Second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? So moved.
Thank you. And the second item is a request to reissue disposition with the current date for parcel ID 832F254. Mr. Aletrios Reese reached out to BPAAR to request the reissue disposition. He said he never received it, which was issued in January of 2024. He only became aware of the changes based on his mortgage company and, getting a tax bill. He said he never received it before. And he really would appreciate, getting a reissue disposition so that he can appeal to the BOD.
Discuss any questions?
Is it pretty normal that because he has a mortgage, his tax records will go to the lender and possibly that disposition will also consider lender as well? I think.
It would go to the mailing directly.
No, it's going to be going to the.
Yeah,
Depending on what they.
mine goes to.
Right.
We have a record of that.
Mine goes right to the mortgage company.
Right.
Yeah.
I did look it up to see if there was a disposition notice actually generated. There was, but I do know that there were multiple folks who came back with this batch in January of 2024 that indicated they didn't receive it. So that's why I was giving them the benefit of the doubt, but
So it could be that as well.
The motion that we reissue disposition for parcel number 832F254.
second.
The birthday.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Move.
And the last one that I have is for Miss Soon-Young Lee, for parcel ID 321H82. This is a rescind and withdrawal. In a nutshell, Miss Lee was represented by a property owner rep. And clearly, I went back and listened to the audio. There were two tax years at hand, 2022 and 2023. But the property owner rep did indicate that he wanted to withdraw 2023. And there was a series of events that occurred that why it ended up being approved. The hearing officer did mark it. At first it was O2A, then she marked it withdrawn. Someone in OPA marked it as withdrawn as well. But what I think happened here is that we were working from paper. The hearing officer failed to write withdrawn on it and give it to OPA. It made it through with all the rest of her hearing officer reports that were heard. So it ended up going through the whole process. So what I'm requesting for the board is it we can rescind that disposition and withdraw it. I mean, it's been withdrawn already, but just to rescind that disposition.
Make it official.
Yes.
There are corrections.
So moved.
Second.
You recited parcel ID.
Yes. 321882.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Moved. Anything else, Ms. Paul?
Thank you.
Board approval is for tax year 2023. Why is that blank?
What's wrong?
Right after the 2023, there's no parcel ID.
So the parcel ID here for the first one for 2022, 2023 is 2J113.
Ladies and gentlemen.
113. We were never actually issued. So we're the 2024 for the last one, but we need to use.
Use the number on here.
Yes.
Okay, this is the actual one that I got. You send this one out as well?
I only got one.
Yes, there's two. There's actually 2023 and 2024.
There was a revision on one.
There was a revision on 2024.
Yeah, so that's okay. Right.
That's the point.
Excuse me, Barbara.
Yes.
There were two appeals that Julie had reached out about them being at the BOV. Did they already get pulled from the lists?
Sorry, who's asking who?
If she sent that request after she sent her report, the revised one, it did not. So we
Okay,
can.
I don't know if you want to discuss that now, because if it gets approved, then you're going to have rescinds.
We can do a
next time.
poll right now. If you know what the parcel ID numbers are, we can pull them now.
Okay, great. It's parcel ID 2J for Jello 113.
The first part.
And then there is also 561E for Edward 53.
So that's everything on the second sheet. The two on the second sheet.
So they were both on that 2020, they were 2023s, the tax year 2023.
That's what you meant, that's second sheet.
Yeah,
Yeah.
small sheet,
So
yes.
let's not approve 2023, period. Let's just
It's,
Yes,
do
yeah,
2024.
All right. It's for me.
we don't have to do anything else. All right.
Motion would just be to approve tax year 2024.
That's why it's blank.
Motion to approve board approval list for tax year 2024.
I have a
Second.
2024, I have.
Oh,
Yep.
okay, shall I pull?
Yeah.
Do you have
Is it a poll or a recusal?
Refuse.
recusal?
Read the entire. So let's,
No, so it's 29, J is in Jackson, 175.
29J 175. That's it. That's it.
Oh, and we have a first and second? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. Oh, I'm sorry. Take that back. We have no other polls.
Despair for a second.
All right, moving on. Any old business? Ms. Baldwin.
No old business for me, but there is something
That's
on there
it's
for
me.
Mr.
Yeah,
Stoley. Yes.
Something up on the screen.
1 second, please.
It's a slide, part of the PowerPoint slide that Mr. Montgomery and Chairman Tim Hazel created, I believe in 2021. I received the PowerPoint under Right to Know. Maybe some of you that were here at the time would be familiar with the slide.
I'm sorry, yeah, because I'm getting it, but you can still speak to.
Because it falls into what I'm talking about, the administration. But,
It's an email.
Okay, here we go. I'm just going down here. I'm sorry. Oh,
So my email got hacked yesterday and I couldn't send emails.
maybe that's not such a bad.
But when you're seeing them come in,
Yeah,
people
yeah.
are like, are you getting back to me? You gonna get back to me?
Yeah, we're in that,
That's county or outside the county?
That's my work.
you probably.
Ms. Baldwin, did you make a copy of these or? I have my glasses, so.
Okay, all right, so this is insane. Okay, here we go.
There it is. There it is. Mr. Snipe and Mr. Fargenstein, you might be familiar with the slide. Look familiar? No? Okay.
Let me bring the folks back up here because
Yeah,
I want to share this.
let's make it full screen. Sure.
I think it's under more.
Okay, my eyes, I like really need glasses.
See the three little dots there?
Yes.
I think that's what you're speaking.
Yeah.
Oh, no, yeah, you're right. It's
There's
right next to leave.
camera, mic, and share.
We're all trying
I'm
to know.
so sorry. That's right.
If
If my eyes were, I'm right up on it. So,
We'll wait.
Wish she's got like 5 blind people, something we're going to.
And this won't be long once we. So we're sharing it, is that correct?
Success.
success, thank you.
All right, if you scroll to the bottom, I want to read that first. This is from the Home Rule Charter. This is not an ordinance. Whoops.
That there,
All those.
bottom of the article.
There you go. There shall be a Board of Property Assessment Appeals and Review consisting of 7 members, up to 7 members, right? The board, board, we don't have a, could you read it, Ms. Baldwin?
Sure, let me just move it over a little bit.
Your
The
question.
board shall exercise all.
Oh, wow.
Let me read it for you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so, there shall be a Board of Property Assessment Appeals and Review consisting of 7 members. The board shall exercise all powers and duties that the county's Board of Property Assessment Appeals and Review had before the effective date of this charter, unless those powers and duties are modified by ordinance or by law. Consistent with the laws shall ensure access to public records regarding assessments.
And I'm going to start with our solicitor. The difference between the Home Rule Charter and county ordinance, if you could just explain briefly. The Home Rule Charter
Is our governing document.
right, which can't be changed unless,
Well, that's your floor, not your ceiling. So then the county charter, the county council ordinances can grant things that are better than what's in your charter. And your home rule charter lays out everybody's rights, responsibilities, and duties.
that there must be a Board of Property Assessment
Correct.
and Review. And prior to the Home Rule Charter, Board of Property Assessment Appeals and Review did everything on the top. If you could scroll up slowly. And I think I can read it. So by ordinance, this is what happened in the year 2000. BPAAR, Board of Property Assessment Appeals, its duties and responsibilities were reduced, limited, whatever word you want to use, to conducting appeal hearings, which is what we do, adjudicating appeals, which is what we did today, and addressing administrative requests, which we do in our meeting.
Right.
So it's very limited. And if you look at what the assessment department, the Office of Property Assessments does, acceptance and processing of appeal forms. I'm not going to read all those, but this has been the rule for 24 years. All right. And I'm just going to share an idea that maybe we should have a conversation, a restructuring of this present system. Because what I've seen, I've been here a year today. I was appointed a year ago today, and it just seems like there's too many cooks in the kitchen. This is what my mother used to say. Yeah. When anything on the left, the board has to go to OPA. There are 2 or 3 people in OPA who meet with Barbara Baldwin. And I still don't know if Barbara Baldwin works for BPAAR or for OPA. Does anyone know the answer?
I do. She works for BPAAR.
Okay, so
She was hired by the Board of Property Assessment.
yeah, I'll discuss this later. There was an action by BPAAR that was overruled by the
We're going to talk about
service.
personnel.
Yeah, that's a personnel issue. But I'm just saying, I see conflicts sometimes, and the chief assessor will agree with me that what we vote on, there are a number of people in the Office of Property Assessment that have access to confidential information before we vote on it. Am I correct? Yes or no? Sorry. I'll repeat the question.
Break it down a little.
Yeah, okay. We have access to the hearing officer remarks, right?
Right.
We change it to a status we call O2B, where any of the board members review it and sign off and make a change. And my question is, does anyone outside of BPAAR have access to that information before we vote on this? Because in my opinion, and I'm going to ask Ms. Shrimp, is that a public record before we vote on it?
It's pre-decisional until we vote on it. So it is not subject to right to know until we.
But does, my question, I guess to the chief assessor is, does anyone in OPA have the right to see that information prior to us voting?
OPA is responsible for all of the information that goes to the IAS system.
When you say all, everything BPAR does.
Everything everybody does, doesn't matter.
So what you're saying is,
Everything that everybody does goes into IAS.
correct.
So by extension, IAS people who are in IAS some have access, I would assume some don't. Because there are things like I can't get into map.
But what I'm talking about is the restructuring. I cannot go into IAS in certain fields. There's a wall,
Yeah,
right? And
Right,
I'm not
myself.
permitted to see your work. Am I right?
that's correct.
But you are permitted to see my work product prior to us voting. Does anyone have the ability to change anything? And I'm not saying that they could.
No.
It's
And-
just
and-
you only.
If by some magical reason something would change, their name would be on it.
I know, but
Do anything without.
how would I know unless I'm just trying to clarify.
No, we can't.
Here's my point is,
That's great, that's great. But you're probably getting down the money. Which is the life
No, I'm not.
of our world. There's 2 different systems for plugging in the financial assessment. One is IAS OPA. The other one is IAS BPAAR. We cannot change anything that BPAAR has in its window.
good,
It's a separate window.
but here's my concern. IAS, the maintenance agreement is with OPA.
Yeah.
BPAR has to go to OPA to do anything in the IAS. Am I correct? Because I attempted to do it with CLR and I was told I had to contact. OPA.
Yeah.
And I'm just saying, one of the changes I'm looking at is somehow this board can put up a wall before we vote, rather than people on the 3rd floor of the county office looking at it. That's all I'm talking about, but I believe there will be a conversation. I've talked to some people about this, and we will discuss this in the executive session. But if you look at that, BPAAR doesn't really do, from cradle to grave, a lot of this is done by the assessment office. And when home rule came in, the argument was, we're going to separate the appeals function from the assessment function. And what I'm showing everyone on the screen has existed for 24 years. And I'm sharing this with my colleagues on the board and our solicitor to just take a look at that and have an open mind and say, is this the best way to service property owners and neighbors? And I'm done.
And again, Mark, we discussed it in executive session.
Yeah.
All right, okay, thank you. Going on to new business. Mr. Sewell, you're up again.
Yeah, we approved some exemptions. There was a delay in this whole process. Shrimp, Susan Lara and I had heard many of these appeals, and we have them on the schedule, and I think we have it down pat. I'm pleased with where we are. And as I said earlier, they are live. People come in here. There was some confusion with the notices that it was a telephone hearing, OPA fixed that. Happy to hear that. So that's all. It's just an update, and we're going to do this every quarter. Sure.
I think that's the plan, once
Yeah.
we catch up.
And we'll work. We don't do the scheduling. OPA does. But we'll work with them to fit our schedule.
But I think we're almost caught up.
One nice thing. Item B, Mr. Chairman.
Right.
Ms. Brooks, you're still there?
I'm here.
Okay. I don't know if you saw the agenda beforehand, but my question, I asked this a couple times. Are there going to be any days where we cannot schedule in November?
As of right now, we are scheduling for all days aside
Good.
from the actual election day.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Brooks. Mr. Sewell, has it?
Yep.
And if there's nothing further, we will move to our adjournment, and again,
Executive.
we will have our executive meeting on.
Move to adjourn.
We now close the September 26, 2024 Allegheny County Board of Property Assessment Appeals and Review. Thank you all for your attendance.
Would you like me to stay on here or for the executive or no? Okay.